Hey guys, so welcome to my channel. This is going to be all about club repair, some tinkering to my current equipment, getting some of my putters reinstalled after restoration. For example, something like this that needs to get its shaft back on and get a grip as well. I have some shafts here that need to be extended, some need to be cut down, some of these grips need to be taken off, but not just cut, but actually saved. So I'll show you the pulling process and how we take those grips off without ruining them. A couple we will just cut right off as well. Changing a shaft out in my square back 2. So a lot of work here needs to get done, and let's get right into it. So first, I will start with my driver. This is my current driver I use. I got it last year. A circa ZX7 MK2. Really good driver. And as you can see, those 2 weight ports here and here need to be changed out. So I'll start there, show a little bit about how tinkering affects your game. So I'll just get right into it. So recently on the simulators, we can't play golf up here in the Northeast right now, outside. So I've been hitting too much of a cut. So what I want to do is move these weights. This is a 10-gram weight. The one on the heel is an 8-gram weight, I believe. This comes stock with an 8 and a 4. But I needed to add about 6 to 8 extra grams in the head because I cut my driver a little short, as I talked about in another video. But anyways, I've been cutting the ball too much. So what I'm going to do is move these weights around so I can move more weight into the heel and a little less weight into the toe, which should help me square that face up a little better and not quite cut it as much. It should affect it about 3 to 5 yards of shape. So if I'm cutting it 10 yards, it should take it down to cutting it about 5 yards. If I'm cutting it 2 or 3 yards, it should help me straighten it out. So just wanted to start here and kind of explain, how much goes into these drivers and how much we can now tinker with them. It's pretty cool, but pretty easy process here. Just change the weights out. I moved the 10 from the toe to the heel and the 8 from the heel to the toe. So there's a little more weight on the heel side now. Because I do also play it at -1 degree of loft, which what that does is when you take loft off of a club with these new tips, it actually opens the face a little and promotes a little bit of a cut as well. So with the weight out at the toe and the face being open, I was just hitting a little too much of a cut. So I wanted to change that, move a little more weight into the heel. I don't want to go up in loft to square the face. I do want to keep the face open because I want to play it down at 8 degrees and not 9 degrees. So yeah, that's all done. That'll be ready to go, and I'll show you some results this week when I'm on the TrackMan. So next, I have my gamer, my putter. Figured I would start there. What I need to do to it is this year, I actually started the whole year playing at 34 inches, stock length to this club. And what I did is I added a 2-inch extension, put on a longer grip, choked down a few inches, and made it a little more counterbalanced. I didn't have much success with that, so I actually ripped the extension out. And actually, at first, I cut it off down to where I wanted it to be. But since, what I should say is when you cut an extension, it can sometimes get loose. It got a little too loose, so I took it out. It's back to 34 inches. I just want to move it to 34 and a half to use that as my plane length. I like it just over 34. So I will put a 1/2-inch extension in here, and I will show you that process now. So what you need to extend a club is obviously an extension. These are actually plastic extensions. I also have a steel extension. However, with clubs under 35 inches, it's really hard. It's really hard to find a steel extension unless the club is over 35 inches long. So the problem is, which someone needs to solve, is to make an extension out of steel that fits into smaller clubs. Because once the club gets longer, the shaft diameter is bigger up at the top, which gives me enough room to fit this in. If you look here, you can see that this extension barely won't fit. It wants to get in there, but it just won't. So anything under 35 inches, you have to use plastic extensions, or you can use another steel shaft that you can cut down and put in there as well. That's another method that a lot of people use. I find that, at least if it's under 1.5 inches or under 1 inch, these extensions will do just as good. With this, it's going to be moved up a 1/2 inch to 34 and a half. I probably will still be choking around that 34 to 34 and a quarter. So I'll have no problem using this extension. speed that up a little bit. So now, what we will need to do the extension is obviously an extension, right? To put that into the shaft, and you're gonna need some epoxy, and you're also gonna want, what's the name of these little, they're like little white pebbles that go in that help build a little roughness in there so the epoxy can grab. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna find a place to pour this extension on, and you can throw it out after, so you don't wanna do this on like a table. You wanna put like a piece of cardboard or something underneath, get enough epoxy there. Then we will open this up. I know it's not cocaine, it's just something very similar. So we will pour this here, right on top, just a little bit. We will use a trusty tea to mix this all up. Get this all mixed. And I've already done this process with another couple of these clubs here. However, you know, learning YouTube, I realized, you know, I can't put all these videos together as well as I hoped for. So I missed a couple of these epoxy extensions, but there'll be plenty more to go around, as you can see here. So, of course, it doesn't want to sit flush. There it goes. It snaps in kind of. It's almost good without epoxy with these extensions. Wow. Those are really good extensions. But nonetheless, we're still going to add a little epoxy here. So what we're going to do is we are going to put a little epoxy. I usually put some in the shaft and then also on the extension. With how tight and what type of extension this is, it actually like clips in on its own. So I'm actually just going to put a little bit of epoxy on this extension because it's already so tight too that I almost can't fit a lot of epoxy on here because it might not even fit fully. So I'm just going to put a little bit. I've never used these exact extensions before, but I'm not going to put any in the shaft. I am just going to put some here on the extension. And now that that's done, we'll take the shaft. I like to do it upside down so no epoxy goes the other way. I'm going to clip this in. This one kind of clips. It's kind of cool. Let me get a towel. There it is. Now you can see it's on there flush. I do need to clean up some of this epoxy, and then I will cut that down to length, and hopefully I don't have the same issue as last time. Let me get a paper towel. Now we will take a lot of this epoxy that is on the outside, clean it up. I don't want to strip too much of it that's in there because I want it on the edge of the two pieces as well. But there we go. It's going to need about 10 minutes to cure. It is fast acting epoxy. So what you're going to want to do there after this is just lay it in a spot and don't move it. And give it just a couple minutes and it should be good. It is in there flush. It is all good. And I'll show you when I cut this down and put the grip back on a little later in the video. So, I got the driver done, I switched the weights, I got my putter done by adding the extension. We will need to cut that extension a little bit and then put the grip on as well, but I figured why not start with my gaming equipment. So next, we will take this putter and cut this grip off. It's a little too big for me. As you can see, the head is custom done, restored. So now that it's all ready, blacked out shaft, I can cut this grip off, put a new grip on, and put it in my collection. So what you'll need for this is this type of knife. You could use a box cutter, but this gets nice and underneath the grip, pulls it right out. So here. Oh, there's no tape under here. I don't know how they held this together. Wow. So usually there's actually grip tape under here. Looks like it is a little old, so it stayed in the grip. But nonetheless, I don't have to heat it up and take the grip tape off. I'll show you that in another video. 99% of putters, you'll have to, when you take the grip off, you'll have to take the tape off as well by heating it up with a heat gun. But this one is my lucky day. So this putter's ready to go. I took the grip off, and then next I will put a grip back on. I'm gonna do all the grips later in the video, but this part's done as well, just needs a grip. So as you can see, some of these putters have already been extended. This one here, this one here. So I did a couple of those. I took the grips off. I'm gonna try to link that later in the video, the other videos of that. But what I've realized too with this is it's not that easy to edit and push videos together. I'm learning that, it's a learning process, but nonetheless, some of these have already been done. I still have a few more things to do here as well. So next, we will take my Scotty Cameron Square Back 2, and what I'm gonna do is change this grip out, change the shaft out, sorry, from a satin shaft to a black shaft. And I'm moving from stepless, which means no rings on here, to stepped, which it gets thicker. So there's different types of shafts you can use for different feedback and feel in your hands, and different weight as well. So I think it's gonna be pretty cool to turn this to black. Pretty excited about that. So what I'm gonna have to do for this is I will heat up the hosel, and then I will take the shaft out once there's enough heat, and I dry the epoxy that's inside that hosel. I'll show you how to put them back together in this video as well, but for this one I'm taking the head apart. So just heat the bottom, take the head off, get the gross epoxy off the tip of the shaft and in the hosel, and then put the other shaft back in by using the epoxy. So let me show you. I'm gonna heat this up. Sorry. We're gonna heat this up. Enough, probably about a minute or two. You can also use a hotter lighter or a propane type torch. But that can burn the finish down at the bottom. I recommend using a torch on the grip tape at the top because that's stuff you don't care if you burn a little. But down here I prefer to use a heat gun so I don't ruin the finish. Takes a little longer, but that's okay. So, now that that's heated up, how I usually take these off, now most people do, it might look a little unprofessional, but most people, when they heat these up, they will just put it on the ground between their feet and twist it. You can't really use a vise for this because it's hard to vise the head only and then pull the shaft off. You could do it by vicing the shaft in and then twisting the head as well, but the head's gonna be hot. So usually a lot of guys, what they'll do is put it on the ground, put it between their feet, keep the head stable, and start to turn. There it is. So now that it's loose, I'll pick it up, put it over a trash can because all that dry epoxy is going to come out. And then what I want to do is take a paper towel, clean off the rest of this epoxy here at the tip. So that's all clean and ready to be reused again, getting that epoxy off. And then with the hosel, I will take this drill bit and I will drill it on low. Sorry, let me get in the video frame. Keep it off, get it in the hosel, run it on low. Just get the rest of this dried epoxy out so the next shaft will go in nice and clean. And it also makes it a little rough in there so the epoxy will grab better. So you can do stuff like this to bore heads as well, which means take a little bit of that metal off the edge of this if you have a little bit of a thicker shaft going in. See, it's called boring the shaft. We'll probably do that in a video down the road, but for now, we're just gonna clean that hosel out. We're gonna get that epoxy out. Now you can see there the epoxy's all clean. Then what we will do is we will epoxy this head in. This is kind of an experiment because I don't know if this shaft's gonna be stable enough or not for this head. Heads now, modern heads have gotten a little heavier. So these shafts, this shaft is actually from the year 2001. Scotty Cameron used stepped shafts, again, ones that get bigger throughout, up until the year about 2007-ish. Then when he started making more mallets and heavier heads, he realized he had to go to a stepless shaft, which means it's the same, there's no bumps in it basically. And from what I've read and what I've felt myself, I find that the stepped shafts, the ones that have bumps in them that get bigger, feel a little better, give you a little better feedback in your hands. And I think black is cool, so that's why I'm doing this, and I will show you how to get this done. So, we will go back to the epoxy. I could probably use some of this from a few minutes ago, but it dries really quickly, so I want to use some more. Get that in there. Some more of this white stuff that, again, what this does is provides a little bit of roughness to all the edges and makes it so everything can grab better. Just like some little white pebbles basically is all it is, but it basically helps with the bond. So with this style, what I will do is I will first put a little epoxy in the head. And you don't want to be too liberal, but you definitely want to get a good amount of epoxy in here. So we will get that epoxy in the head. Some of it is dried out from a few minutes ago, so it's not moving that good, but I will figure it out. That is ready. Then I will put some on the tip of the shaft as well. You can see a lot of this is hardened up already just after 2 or 3 minutes, but we should be good to still use it. There it is. Now what we will do, there is no shaft band on here, so we can kind of put it in any direction. With shaft bands, you're gonna have to line them up specifically. What you'll do is you will put this on, bang it in. It's nice and tight. And then we're gonna wanna rest it like this for a while. You can also use longer acting epoxy that's stronger. I'd recommend for any tip besides a putter to use long lasting epoxy or tour set epoxy. It takes a little longer to harden, but it is a little stronger. Putters, you're never swinging too hard, so you should have no problem using short set epoxy for it, like what is here. But I would recommend to use short set epoxy, or it's also called extension adhesive, on extensions on the other side of your putter. Not as much torque is being put into that side as this side. But nonetheless, for putters, it is okay. Let me get a paper towel. You're gonna clean this up, and then we will let this rest for a little while and let it dry off. Once I clean it, I will bang it down again. Make sure it's in there good. All right, that's in there good. I will put it on a rack backwards and let the gravity just set it together and let the epoxy dry. So, 1 second. So now that is done. I did the driver weights, I extended my gamer, I did the square back, I already took the Studio Design grip off the Studio Stainless 2.5. I will attach that at the end. I also took the corded grip off of the Newport Mid-Slant 2, which was originally on this putter, but I'm actually doing the 2023 model grip for all my Pro Platinums. So now I officially have every Pro Platinum that was made. There's about 7 or 8 of them. So I'm using the 2023 grip for the putters that are in store today and putting them all on the Pro Platinum collection I have. And then for the Studio Stainless collection, which is after the Pro Platinum at the turn of the century, I just need one more putter to complete that part of my collection, and they will all be used with the Studio Design Black Cameron grip, which again came original with the Studio Stainlesses, so that's why I ripped a couple of these off to put onto my Studio Stainlesses, so they all have the OG grip. So there's that. I did a couple of those already. Hopefully I can show the pulling process at the end of this video. You can see a couple of grips that I pulled off. I do want to do one more for you here. So here is a red Studio Design Cameron grip. Again, they don't make these anymore. Very hard to get your hands on, very expensive. I'd love to get them new, but very expensive. I have one here I can reuse. So instead of just ripping this off like I did with the last grip, I will actually show you how to pull this grip properly. Because basically you have the Pro Platinums, which is 99 to 01. You have the Studio Stainless models, which came out in 01 or 02, I think 02. And then the Studio Style models came out in 05. So the Studio Style models all have these red Cameron grips on them, but the Studio Stainless had the black Cameron grips on them. So I'm gonna take this off of a Pro Platinum, because again, all my Pro Platinums are gonna get the 2023 model grip. And I will take this grip off and put it on a Studio Style. I don't have many Studio Style putters. That's what I'm trying to build out in my collection. You can see one there with the Cameron grip on it. That is a First to 500 Newport 1.5. I do have one also here. Oh no, this is Studio Selects. This is after Studio Style. This is 2008. I do have a Studio Style though, Newport 2.5 that I'm restoring, and I'll show you that in another video, and that is where this grip's gonna go. So let's pull this grip, and I'll show you how to pull grips. Be pretty cool. Okay, so the next part of this video is taking a grip off of a putter shaft. I'm not gonna cut it off like the first video you saw. I'm actually gonna pull it, is what we call it, to save the grip, because it's worth some good money and I can use it on a different putter. So let me grab that now. I think I'm going to go with this one. So this is a vintage black Studio Design grip from about the turn of the century. Yeah, very old, but very hard to come by now, obviously. So I'm going to take it off of this putter, Studio Stainless 2.5, that I actually restored myself. Still naked, doesn't have any paint, but looks pretty good. And I will take this grip off and put it with all of my mint Studio Stainless putters that I have, original. So they all have that same black Studio Design grip that came with them stock. So yeah, let me show you how to take a grip off. Stay tuned. So we will need, I forget the name of this. Let me read what it's technically called. A V-groove grip remover. So basically what this will do is we will get it inside this grip, and we will work it all the way down to release the tape that's inside from the grip. And how we will release that, not just by pressure, but by using grip solvent. What this does is free up that tape and make it not as sticky, so we can release the bond between the grip and the tape. So this is how it works. What we'll do is first, we'll try to get inside of this grip. And a lot of work I do in my barn, but it's in the winter right now, so I cannot do work out there because it's 20 degrees. But first what we're gonna do is get just inside that grip, just so the thing's in there. And we can pour a little grip solvent in. Oops. And you know, you gotta be fragile with these older grips. They're 20 years old. They're not as strong as they were, so you don't wanna push too hard. It's really a science to kind of get this going, but And this solvent is very strong, so you want to make sure to have some coverage underneath. And what we will do now, let me slide it back so you can see more. We're going to get that little corner. And before, I can't even really turn that thing much around at all in there. But once I just put a little of this solvent, you will see, oh, that's not good. Now that I got some of that solvent in, we should be able to start to work our way down this putter. Get another paper towel. And we'll start to work our way down. Geez, this thing does not want to give. This thing is tight. Some tape is obviously tighter than others for obvious reasons, depending on who taped it, who gripped it, and how long it has been on the putter for. So basically you're going to slowly work around in a clockwise direction like this. You don't want to push too hard and break the grip. It's an older grip as well, and as you get down a little bit more, you start to feel more friction. You know, just crack this thing open. Pour a little more down. You want to open it up like this so it has more room to go down more. And that should help a lot. We're just going to turn this thing around like this. Keep turning. And again, this is kind of a science. It's not that easy to save grips without ruining them. And you know, a lot of people don't even realize this is an option in golf. They just think if they get a new grip, they have to cut off the old one. But when you're dealing with $100, $200 grips, I think you're better off saving them, especially ones that are 20 years old and aren't for sale anymore. Definitely a product that you do not want to just cut and lose. So I think one more little bit of solvent here, and we should be good. One more little bit. It is in. Now basically you will know at the bottom, you'll hear it snap kind of. You'll know we're all the way down there, because worst thing you want to do is get to the bottom and not get it completely released from the entire part of the tape down to the end of the shaft and have to get back down there. So you really want to make sure you hear this little subtle snap, or you almost feel it more than you hear it. Let me just turn this around as well. I do actually have to take this out. All right, almost done. All right. There it is. So I just turned the snap. You can see the shaft is moving separate from the grip now. We know it's out. We're gonna do then, so we don't make a mess. Pull this out, keep it there, and voila! We saved a 20-year-old $150 grip, and now I can put it on a different club and save it. So I'll clean that off with soap and water. I'll heat this up and get this tape off and put a different grip on here and show you the next process. And so I just cleaned this with soap and water, and I'll show you it. It was actually pretty dirty and gross before I took it off. Again, it's from turn of the century, 1999, 2000. And another thing about these grips when you're taking them off or pulling them is you'll lose the texture in them. They're supposed to be like firm. So if you push too hard when you're pulling grips, you can lose the texture and make it soft. But as you can see, as I push here, there's really no soft spot. There's one little soft spot there in the back. Everything else, the texture is held pretty good. And once you get it on a shaft, it should be a little stiffer too, because there's obviously steel between it. But did a great job pulling this out. And now I can put it on a different club that is worth more money. So, not bad. Stay tuned. What I will do next, after I pulled the grip off of the shaft, so I'll make sure to get all the solvent off of this shaft and I will rip this yucky tape off that is 25 years old. So again, we are going to heat up this tape so it will come off much easier. First, let's get some of that gross solvent off there so it's not quite as sticky. And we will heat up this. It's not gonna come off easy like the last one, so probably gonna have to use a box cutter to get this tape off, but let's see what happens. Let's give it a whirl. So yeah, just a little more information about what's going on here. I'm going to do a lot more work like this, either building people their dream putters, or switching out your grips every year, or putting a different shaft in your driver, or your irons, or your wedges, restoring an old putter you have back to new. So basically anything around club repair and club restoration. Putter fittings is going to be a big focal point here as well. I'm building a putting green indoor here. I built one outdoor last year. This year I'm building one here indoor. Should be done within the next few days. I'll bring you content on that as well, and then that will also free me up to be able to do putter fittings here, so I can put you through the fitting process with all the data, analytics, TrackMan data, stuff like that, and then build the dream putter for you. And whether that be order a cheap putter online that fits your stroke, whether that means buy a $500 off the rack Scotty Cameron, or somewhere in between, we find a cheap Scotty Cameron that fits you and I restore it, or we find a cool one that you like that's used, a year old, for half the price. So a lot of options there. I'm going to act more not just a fitter and a teacher, but also kind of a buying consultant, if you will, and a restoration, specialist, to really be able to give you that full life cycle of do a fitting, help your putting, and then build that dream putter, find it for you on eBay or wherever we need to find it, and put it together and make it happen. So very excited to start doing that for you guys, and hopefully some of you guys will reach out to get your putting better. But anyway, so I did that, and I do not think this will, it might come off. Let's see here. That is a rarity, I'll tell you that. So, of course, I bit my nails earlier, so do not have nails to rip this stuff off, which is not good. But yeah, this is not good. I will probably cut it with a box cutter. Let's give it one more sec here. I also don't want to burn my hands. Let's see if we can get this off here. It's much easier to not have to use a box cutter, but here we go. So we're going to open that box cutter up. We're going to take our trash can. We're just going to run it from top to bottom. Clean it every couple. So yeah, this is what goes into, putting new grips on, or changing shafts, or retaining your old grip. When you buy a new one, you want to save it. We're going to be doing a lot more content like this as well. But yeah, so basically we're just going to shred all this off. It's a little too old to come off easily, where that first one that I pulled was only a putter that's about 2 years old. So the tape came off pretty easily, almost like a blessing, where this one is a little bit more difficult. It's pretty satisfying though when you see those, everything build up like that. Rip right off. right, so we got most of it off. And you don't need to do this perfectly. If there's a little bit of tape stuck in one little spot, again, you're going to put double-sided tape over it, and the grip will be over that. So you don't have to get every little speck out. I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I like to. But something like even just to this point is good enough. I will strip this all and put a little acetone on here too to kind of really strip it. But you don't have to. If you go to a golf store, they'll probably stop here, put that piece of tape on, solve it, and put that grip right on. But a little more of a perfectionist here. We try to do things as, you know, to the highest quality possible. But yeah, so we saved the grip, took the grip off. Next stage, put a grip back on. We will do that all on my vise. I will show all the video of putting grips on a little later. I hope that you watched the part about pulling grips, and I did a couple there, and hopefully you enjoyed those. It's a little bit of a different process. It's a little bit of a fine art kind of to get grips off without ripping them off. But I've found, working in the business and doing my own clubs for multiple years, I found a good way to kind of get those grips off. So I'm happy I could show you that. Let's see what else we can do. So this is a circa 62 Scotty Cameron. It is not a limited style model because it was sold in stores, but kind of like different than the off the rack models a little bit. A little more of a limited style putter from 2005. And I actually extended it to a little bit too long. So what I'm gonna do is actually just cut this down about a 1/2 inch. But I did extend this, and I wish I could show you that video, but it's not gonna be able to be put on here, but I will show you more extensions in the future. So that one needs to get cut down a little bit and put a grip on there. This one needs to get a grip on. I actually pulled the grip of this one as well to put into one of my other studio stainless putters, because this one is not original. It's one that I restored. So I want to put all the original grips on all the original studio stainlesses that I have. So there's that. I will dive deeper into the restoration process as well in a different video. This is more just around club repair, but I will provide videos as well on how I restore putters and show you. There's a couple videos I have on my Instagram actually. If you want to go there, you can check out actually that process, that Studio Stainless 2.5. I do have a great video there. I can link it in the bio of this video, and you can click on that and see that putter come back to life. And here is a Newport 34-inch, 340 gram. You can see it says it there. So this is actually from Japan. All the American ones, they do not say the length and the weight. This one does. So I got this from Japan last week. I was gonna actually restore it, but it came in such good condition. I'm just gonna keep it as is. It is a little short, however, so I do need to pull this grip and add an extension in and then put this grip back in. It's playing around 33 3/4 inches. I wanna get it up to 34.5. So let me show you how to pull a grip. So, again, let me get my towel. We'll go back down here. These are a bunch of shafts I've actually pulled in the last few days as well. Doing a lot of work here recently. Hopefully I'll be able to provide you those videos as well. But here we go. So we're gonna first get a spot where we can get this V-groove in. Not the easiest on some, easier on others. Sometimes you also have to start with a little bit of adhesive just to open it up. But I think I should be able to get in here. Yep. We're going to pour a little adhesive in there. Again, this grip is from the turn of the century, so, and it's original, so it's been in here for a pretty long time. Nonetheless, we will get it out. So now turn this head. Get a little bit of space in here. Get this grip in. And you want to get it between the tape and the grip, or else you'll get a lot of tape inside the grip when you're done. So it's much easier. There we go, we're in between the tape and the grip. We got a little room. Now, let's pour a little more extension, a little more adhesive in here. And let's get to work. So you're gonna just go clockwise or counterclockwise, either way. Just try to work it down. Get that solvent in there. That's what's gonna loosen up the bond between the grip and the tape. So we can just slide this grip off after. It seems like this tape is so old that it doesn't wanna give a little bit, but we will do it. So, last thing I wanna do is break the tape, break the grip. I mean, definitely don't wanna do that, so. Let's get a little more in here, and then we will add a little more solvent. Come up a little bit. It's not letting me break up here. There we go. There we go. You gotta be fragile. You know, you don't want to break these grips. They are old. They're a little bit thinner. These style studio design grips. They're actually lighter because the heads were lighter back in the day. So these grips are actually lighter. So that's why I want to save them and put them on my studio stainlesses, because modern grips are a little too heavy, at least the Cameron ones, and it makes the head feel a little too light when there's too much weight at the top. So that's why it's very important, and why a lot of people want these grips, because they're weighted properly for the head, which is a little lighter, and so the head does not feel too light if you put a heavier grip on. A lot of people struggle with that with these older putters. They put a modern day grip on, can't feel the head weight, and they can't putt. But here we go. I think we just got the bottom. I think we're good. Pull this off, move this here. There it is. Whew. So, got the grip off. I'm gonna get some soap and water on this to get the adhesive off, or else it will strip part of the grip, make it look bad. So, give me a second. All right, so now I'm back. I got this grip off of the shaft. I got some soap and water on it to clean off the adhesive, or the grip solvent, we'll call it, so it doesn't ruin the grip. Clean this up, and then we will put this on one of the other we'll put it actually back on this club after we extend it, so that's cool. So basically, we save the grip. It's in good shape. What we will do now is we will take the tape off of the club, put an extension in up to 34.5, and then we will put the grip back on. So here is another grip. That's my fourth one pulled in this video. Again, a couple of them I have not been able to, I've shot them before this, so I should show you the four. I've pulled these four off already, and these will all find a new home, either back in the same club after being extended, or in a different club. You can see there's 3 studio design Cameron grips there, and then a corded Titleist red grip as well. So very exciting stuff. What we'll do now is we will clean up this grip. First, we're gonna get all the rest of this grip solvent off of the grip part at the top where the tape is left. We'll clean this all up, get all this off, and then we will heat up the tape, and hopefully it will come off somewhat easy enough. this tape has never been taken off. The grip has never taken off, so we're looking at about 23 years old. This tape has been on there for. So let's get to work. We're gonna heat this tape up, and we'll probably have to use the box cutter because it's not gonna come off by hand. But I'm happy to show you that as well. So now that's done, see if this comes off. I actually forgot about a tip my buddy gave at my last job about pulling grips. What he used to do is actually heat the grip up a little bit first before he pulled it, because he found that made it a little bit softer and it wouldn't break as easily. So I'm gonna start doing that as well. I did not do that with this one. As you can see, this tape is not coming off. So let's take a box cutter. And this is the only way to take this old grip tape off is after it goes about 10 years, it doesn't come off by hand anymore. So you're gonna have to shave it off yourself. So gonna go around the whole thing. It's a little more tedious with this older grip. You could also let it dry and then put tape right over it, but I'm a little bit more of a perfectionist. I want to get that tape off all clean. I'll even go to the extreme of putting acetone on after to really get every little part of that tape off. You know, if you go to a golf shop and they remove your grip or do a new grip, they probably will just tape right over the old tape. They're too lazy to even do this. So that's why it's so important to come to someone like me for all your repair work, because I care more and I will put that extra work in to make sure everything's good. Because you don't want to have, you know, every piece of tape under there is a couple grams. So if you have 3-4 extra old pieces of tape, you know, that's another 10 grams in your hands. So that's 10 grams less at the bottom. Make your head feel a little too light. So, you know, swing weight, everything, that so much goes into these clubs, and we want to just dial it in to the best of our ability. And especially with these older golf clubs, they're already lighter in the head than the newer ones. So we want to have as little weight at the top as possible. So it's very important to get all that old tape off and get the new tape back on without wasting any extra weight whatsoever. So, as you can see here, we got most of that tape off. I will run a little acetone on here as well, just to get the last little parts of this tape off. I will use this to get the inside of the shaft. You see how gross that is. Look how old that tape is. It's like black, all rusted. So we'll get rust inside of that shaft as well. So what I like to do, bang it out. And I actually, with these older ones, I actually like to leave them on the ground like this or tilted against the ground so a lot of that stuff can get out of there. There is a product as well you can go in and clean that rust out. I will be getting that in the next few days, and I'll show you guys that later. But this is all done. Just needs to have an inch extension put in, which I showed earlier, and then we'll put that grip back on. So here it is. All right, so a little bit more about what I've done here. In other videos that I can't use, I extended a couple clubs that I'm restoring. You can see to get the length back in them. I extended this one, extended the Circa 62, extended these three. There's two over there I showed you, I already extended on the video. I'm waiting for my square back to dry, or the epoxy to bond, I guess, at the head, and then I will show you putting all these grips on at the end.